Today I'll be replacing the upper control arm on my 2011 Dodge Ram. We already got the wheels taken off, and for this job we're obviously going to need those and of course the upper control arm right there. We already got this side replaced with the precision part from AutoZone. I decided to buy the entire assembly because it's a lot easier, and this also comes with the ball joint assembly already included with the grease fitted stuff.
Off the bolt here that goes to the upper ball joint. So I'm just going to put another wrench on there for more leverage.
Sweet.
And break it loose.
That's easy.
21 millimeter, right?
Yes.
So, you can pause it if you want.
You say that again. That looks already.
Sometimes to get these apart, you got to hit them with a hammer right here. But this one, since it's in aluminum,
Yeah.
it's a little bit loose, so it's coming apart on its own.
So this is already this is worn out pretty bad. Not pretty
no,
bad,
but
but
it's
enough.
just sometimes this metal will bond here, so you got to hit it to get
Oh,
it
okay.
apart. But in this case, it hasn't. Mainly because the spindle's aluminum. Now, on some cars, you got to be careful because, see, on this one, the suspension stop is the strut.
Mm-hmm.
But if the suspension stop is not the strut, and you take this apart,
It
and the
shits.
suspension stop is the upper control arm, then you're going to be in trouble. So,
Once it falls out, huh? It'll shoot up.
the spring could come flying out and hit you. Yeah, so it's best to know where the suspension stop is, but on these it's the strut. So, but like on a Chevy truck, it is the upper control arm. So if you take the upper control arm off, then you need to support the lower control arm.
And this only has 3 bolts, right?
Yeah, it's got the upper control arm bushing bolt here in the rear, and then it's got the upper control arm bushing bolt here in the front.
Does it have to be aligned?
No, not on this one because the camber adjustment is not at the upper control arm. Now on a Chevy pickup it is, okay? And there's shims that you can put in here to bring the control arm either in or out, all right? But on this one, the camber adjustment is on the lower control arm, and it's got like an eccentric is what it's called.
Is that why you have the markings on there?
That's why I marked them from the time we replaced the lower control arm, so that they were put back in the same position.
What about this stuff at the back? That's just to support it from moving back and forth, right?
Oh, the thing on the bolt here? Yeah, so you don't have to hold the nut with a wrench.
Oh, okay.
See? So it stops it right here. See? Otherwise, you'd have to put a wrench on it because the nut would try spinning when you were undoing the bolt.
And there's not enough space.
Well, there is enough space. They just did it like that, just probably to make it easier when they assembled it.
Oh, okay.
Since it's got that flat piece on there, I don't have to use a wrench to hold the nut. And it's the same way on this other side here.
Alright, since it's the same stuff, we'll just go ahead and skip that part.
Might as well help them. Okay, we're pulling out the upper control arm bushing bolts here. Now this little wire is attached, so you need a little screwdriver or something just to break that clip loose. And that comes out.
Oh, well,
Take this off.
that's easy.
Okay. Goodbye old control arm.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the new one, which is
It's back there. So what's the difference between the one we bought from O'Reilly's and...
the new ones are cast iron, and the old ones here are stamped steel. Okay, so they're actually hollow on the inside, and it's just made out of steel plate, basically.
Oh,
That's
so...
bent and welded. See, you can see that's hollow on the
Yeah.
inside, and this one's actually solid cast iron. So these are much stronger.
Sweet. And they cost a lot less too.
Oh. Probably, if you got the original style ones from the dealer, they would probably be that same style, and more they would more than likely probably be more expensive.
Oh, it costs twice as much. I guess more than twice as much.
Probably so. Yeah. And
So now
these
we're
look
putting
real
them
good.
back on.
Probably these cast iron ones, more than likely, they're probably Chinese made, but that's okay. I mean, everything is now.
Even probably the ones from the dealer. So I mean, if it works and I
It
get
seems
to
like
save money.
most of the things they say that are American made for most of these American style cars are really actually made in Canada.
Really?
So, if you're really fired up about having something that's American made, even if you get the dealer part, it might actually be Canadian made. Okay, and our other nut fell off. It's over here somewhere. I don't know where it went. Oh, where did it go? Did it fall on the floor?
All right, let me pause this while we look for the nut that fell. Putting it back together.
Let's tighten this up just a little bit, but we're not going to make it totally tight yet. We're just going to snug it up there a bit. And then we'll tighten the upper control arm bushing bolts as well. I'm surprised that this one came apart so easy, and on the other side we had to hammer it a few times.
Because this one has been making a lot of like squeaky noises like when I drive.
See, because the ball joint is actually a tapered fit in here, so it's like a cone shape and it goes down there. So when you tighten the nut here, it draws it together.
Oh, okay. And it's not supposed to have any movement, right?
Well, not between here and here.
What about right here?
But the ball is inside here, so yeah, there's a pivot point there. It allows it to go up and down and to turn both.
Oh, okay.
That's why it's a ball. Like, see, on some old cars, they had what was called a kingpin. And the way that worked was you would have movement, in this direction, and then you'd have another joint that would allow it to move like that. It wasn't a ball. You actually had, it was like a pin. You had a pin this way, which would allow it to move this way, and then you had another pin this way, which would allow it to move this way. So if you have like an old 50s car, instead of having ball joints, it'll have what's called kingpins. And basically what that is an older version of a ball joint. You have two pins as opposed to one ball. Now see, once you get this kind of tight, the whole thing may want to turn, but this is actually a bolt here that you can hold.
To prevent it from spinning?
Yeah, you can put a 10 millimeter on the bottom of this and you can hold that while you tighten this one up.
Oh, okay.
And for more leverage, stick another wrench on there. Yeah. Be careful, make sure it doesn't slip off.
I need my safety glasses. You tightening it all the way in?
I guess I'll just tighten this one up all the way. I already got the bolts put
Inside,
into
yeah.
the upper control arm bushings, so I just gotta tighten them. Make sure this is good and tight. You don't want this coming apart.
You can see
I have 2 wrenches on there.
this has a lot of movement.
It's pretty tight. It's almost as tight as it's going to get. Now don't totally kill this because bolts do break, but it does need to be tight. It's about as tight as it's going to go right there.
Oh, sweet.
That's not going to come loose. Tighten these up. We got the extendable ratchet for more leverage, so
Sweet. And then with this,
And this thing keeps the nut from turning. It just hits right there on the ring.
Yeah.
You don't have to hold the nut. Just gotta tighten the bolt. That's it.
how tight does it have to be?
You'll be able to tell because you won't be able to turn it anymore.
Oh, okay, so as tight as you can.
Basically, see, that's pretty tight right there.
Yeah.
If I turn it any more than that, it's gonna break. That's plenty tight.
Okay.
Same thing on the other side. You could maybe get an air impact in here to tighten this, but I like tightening them by hand.
Okay, to get the feel.
Yeah, then I know how well. Now, when taking things apart, I like to use the air impact because it goes much faster. Now, my buddy that worked at the aircraft place, they didn't use an air impact for anything. They didn't use an air impact for taking things apart, nor for putting them together.
Why? Because it messes up the thread.
Because their goal was to be very careful with things.
Oh, okay.
But what's weird on the aircraft too is that on a small plane, what do you think things are going to be, metric or standard size?
Metric.
Wrong. I don't even think he had a set of metric or inches in his toolbox. Almost everything on the planes is standard size,
Oh, really?
which is kind of weird. Because I thought, internationally, metric is more popular, but I guess on the small planes, metric is not very popular. All standard size.
Oh, wow.
That's tight. Okay. And we got to put the grease zerd in.
So the original one doesn't actually come with the.
Grease zerd? No, it doesn't.
It doesn't. Okay. So there goes the grease fitting.
Those lower control arms are probably a decent alloy. I got some. See these spindles?
Yes.
I got some off a Ford truck. They're huge, and somebody must have put a lift kit on there, so they got rid of the original spindles, and they're like brand new. Probably a really good alloy. Good stuff to melt down. Let's see.
So that's it.
If I can find the grease gun, we can put a little extra grease in there.
Oh, okay. So that's how you replace the upper control arm. Well, so replacing the lower control arm on these trucks are a lot,
lower control arm.
but that takes a lot longer, right?
It's a bigger job.
It's a
'cause you
bigger
got
job.
This, you got those bolts. You got to turn these the correct way. You got to pull this axle shaft out because see where that nut is, the ball joint
Yeah.
thing. I mean, and you got to see this has to come up. Well, the shaft's in the way. See,
Yeah.
so the lower ones are definitely a lot more work
And costs a lot more money.
for sure.
There you go.
The top's much easier.
All right,
Plus,
thank-
when I did the lower ones, I did them on the floor, which was probably more difficult than doing them on the lift because I didn't have the lift available at that time.
All right. Thank you, Mike, for this video.
Thank you.
All right.